if you're in your 30s and your 40s, you think you have a whole lot of time left for retirement planning. But here's the reality check. Every year that you're not investing, you are losing opportunity. You're losing the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. Because compound interest requires time for your money to be built and for your money to increase. And if you've listened to me, you know that time means things I must execute. So things that you must execute is that you have to start saving and planning for your retirement today and saving and investing your money today. Hey, I'm Rita Oliver. I am the CEO and president of Strategies, Options, and Solutions. I am a master financial coach, chartered retirement planning counselor, and wealth management specialist. And I help professionals, the ages between the age of 40 and 60, to create financial stability, eliminate that debt, save, build wealth, and retire with confidence. Because retirement in America today is a huge problem. People are not able to retire with confidence, not able to retire at all, and retiring and outliving their money. And that is a big, big danger, which is what I want to talk about today. The hidden danger of waiting too long to plan for your retirement. And that's a huge danger. So, I got started planning for retirement. I was very fortunate. I worked for the federal government. And of course, I had a pension. But a pension is great. It's going to, pay me for the rest of my life. But you still have to save outside of the pension because the pension is not your entire salary. So I still had to save and invest outside of that to ensure my safety, security, my financial freedom. And, today we've got the majority of Americans, at least 30, maybe even 40%, that have no retirement plan at all, and definitely a huge majority of the population not saving enough, saving the bare minimum for retirement, which means that in retirement they will run out of money. They're not saving enough, and they're not planning early enough. People hear about retirement, they know about retirement. The $64,000 question is, why don't they do anything about it? Why don't they ask questions? Why don't they take the action? Why don't they execute the things that they must do? Why don't they do that? And there is a plethora of reasons why people don't do it. The reason I have found in my coaching in the last particularly here in the last 3 years since I've been in business, is consumer debt has taken over. Consumer debt has taken over households, has taken over household incomes. Consumer debt has households exceeding their monthly income. Consumer debt payments are draining paychecks and bank accounts every month. Consumer debt, particularly the unsecured consumer debt, credit cards. A lot of people are living and paying their basic bills on credit cards. They are. They're swiping and signing, and then the next month the bill hits and we're seeing 25% interest, compound. Remember I just said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. It's definitely the eighth wonder of the world for banks because they're making that money off of you. People are also, I see, shopping online here, and people are doing buy now, pay later. A lot of places where I buy stuff online, buy now, pay later. Why would you do that? You just can't make the purchase. So it's about those choices, and people, particularly younger, as I opened up 30s and 40s, you think you have all of this time to do everything, and you don't. You think I have plenty of time and I'll just figure it out later. The harsh truth is that time passes quickly. It passes very quickly. And without a plan, your savings can disappear faster than you expected. Because I got started in 2000. I got started in 2000 planning for my retirement. I have been working, mind you, since 1985. So that's 15 years in. Granted, I was contributing to my pension. Then in 87, our thrift savings plan came in. I was in that. I got in that immediately. And then as I continue to learn more, because what has to happen for you, and this is how I do it, I got to put a whole picture together and everything has to align. And when it aligns, then I can execute. I've got the intention, I've got the focus, I've got the discipline. So I was contributing to the pension because that was automatic. Then when the thrift savings plan came in, I got in that automatically as well. And besides, the agency contributed an automatic 1%, even if you were not enrolled in it. But I enrolled in it. And you could start with whatever percentage you wanted to do. And I started with 1%. I started with 1%. And then every year that I got a pay raise, I would up it 1%. Because I started out making $18,000 a year. And I would just up it 1%. Until I got to the 10%, and then when I learned about the dollar amount for the maximum dollar amount you could put in that the government allows on the IRS rules, I immediately started doing that. And listen in, I had debt at that time, a lot of debt, but I did it. I made the sacrifice. Because I saw some people and I heard stories about people that retired from the federal government with a pension. And they come back to work because they could not pay their bills. Because it's back to that harsh truth. Time had passed on them and they didn't plan. Things I must execute. So you've got to execute some things here and come to a harsh reality when it comes to it with your retirement, with your financial matters. You may be feeling stuck, stressed, and all of that, because the thing is, you cannot be unprepared in your later years. Because the time has passed. Things I must execute. And then you'll come to the regret factor. If I had only started earlier. As I said, I started in 2000 when a good friend of mine that I knew who was a retirement counselor explained the retirement plan to me. Then when I heard that, and then looking at that, researching it, then putting it all together, I realized I got to get out of debt. I can't make all these payments anymore because these payments aren't getting me anything. Yeah, it got me my house, got me a car, yeah. But on the consumer side, with credit card debt, unsecured debt, it was getting me some things, but things that were depreciating in value. Some of them were nice. Now, because I admit I am a shopper. I don't deny that to anybody. But I had to get the reality check. So I retired in 2022. So 22 years I was planning for the day I would walk away. 22 years. That's starting early. 22 years. I was starting early. I made the shift. To empower myself because it was just me. And there was no second income. And so I had to make the shift to ensure that I had security and financial freedom. So there is danger in waiting too long to plan for retirement. If I had not made that shift in 2022 years earlier, I would not be in the place that I'm in today. I wouldn't be in the secure financial place I am today, which is what I'm saying to you. Listening to me. You got to make that shift today. You had to make it yesterday. And you got to make some sacrifices here. You got to start knowing what your numbers are. That is that cash flow. You got to create a strategy and you got to invest wisely. But that first thing is foundational, is knowing your numbers. That's a huge thing here that people wait too long to get a handle on, is knowing their numbers. Everybody thinks because I'm swiping and doing it on my debit card, I got an app on my phone, I got it under control. No, you got some activity, but do you really have it under control? Are you controlling the flow, as we say over here at SOS? Are you controlling the flow? And what you got to do is you got to have a strategy. You got to have a strategy for the money coming in and the money going out. That's that intention, focus, and discipline. That is managing the time. Things I must execute. And that should flow with your money. Your money should be going to those things that you must execute. Those things that are controlling the flow. Those things for the short term and the long term. So that you don't outlive your money. Because when you outlive your money, wow, that is detrimental there. That's detrimental. So, as I said, most people don't think about retirement planning until it's too late. They assume they're going to figure it out later, but later can sneak up on you so fast. I had 22 years. I had 22 years. Some of you are sitting listening to me may only have 5 years, but that 5 years is going to turn into a longer time that you got to work now. And so because you don't want to hit your retirement age and realize that you don't have enough money saved to live comfortably and having to go back to work. I told you about federal government employees having to come back to work. Who wants to do that? Sacrificing the time that you had planned that you wanted to travel, time with your family, the freedom that you dreamed of. Who wants that? I didn't want that. So I made some hard line choices. I didn't go out a lot. I didn't do this. I didn't do that because it was just one income. And it's still, just me. But I have the freedom and flexibility and the security and definitely that peace of mind. I won't outlive my money. But there's good news. I'm not just talking harsh and gloom today. What I'm talking to you about is a reality. Because you got to face that reality. But you can change the reality. Because your perception, each person's perception is their reality. But you can change your reality anytime you get ready. So the good news is that planning ahead means you can retire on your terms. It means financial freedom instead of financial stress. And it starts with small steps. I just said a few minutes ago. And it's so important. People think it's not. Because, people are looking for the quick fix, the this that I could do, and it's going to turn into that. It's not. It's not. I said that on a podcast interview I had with the coaching, another coaching firm that invited me to interviewed me. And I said, people think they're going to put something in an investment and boom, it's going to turn into $1 million. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I don't care if it's a real estate property. It's not going to do that. Okay? Things take time to appreciate. So it starts with the small steps. Knowing your numbers. Got to know the numbers. Got to know what's going in, what's going out. How are you living today? Because that dictates how you're going to live tomorrow. What's it going to cost you? What it costs you today to live could cost you a little bit more tomorrow. One of the biggest costs in retirement is health care. And that's a huge thing when it comes in the private sector. Because all of you all, when you retire, you're going on Medicare at age 65. That's a huge cost. Medicare costs money. It does. It's not just that base cost. And because it's an income-based premium. So you could be paying $700 a month for it. That is most absolutely possible. So as I said, it starts small with knowing your numbers, having a strategy. What is your strategy? What is your plan when it comes to your household income and your household's vision and future? I had a vision. Once I learned and understood everything and it got here and I understood it, then it was game on. I had the vision. I laid out the plan, laid out the strategy. I am an auditor. So breaking things down, creating strategy, looking at something new, looking at it with an objective eye, and making it better is what I've been trained to do. And that's what I did in moving forward with my retirement. And what's so key is making smart decisions now. There's something I said in the interview, and I think it's relevant here. And I talked about you have to make a shift. You got to, start with these small steps of knowing the numbers, creating a strategy, and making a smart decision now. You got to decide, you got to commit, and you got to act. That's what I did when I got ready to pay off my home so that I would secure my retirement. I decided that I was going to put an additional $200 every month toward the principal. Every six months I would up it $200 so it would go toward the principal. That's a decision I made. Then I committed to that and I took the action. And I had a tickler on my phone or on my calendar or whatever that said, okay, it's time for you to up it $200 because I got it paid for. And then that allowed me to invest more and build my future. So, think about what I've said today. Listen to this. Go back and listen to it. What is your biggest concern about retirement? What is it? I want you to drop me some comments and let's talk about it. Okay? And then also, if you're ready to stop worrying and start securing your future, I'd love for you to send me a message. Say, I would like to chat with you. And let's create a plan that make sure you never have the fear of running out of money, because that is not a good feeling of running out of money. You don't want that. You may be running out of money now because you're living paycheck to paycheck, because another check is coming in 2 weeks. And that's still a stress and a strife there on you, because that's a 10-day wait there. But imagine when you're retired and you are getting money monthly, making a monthly withdrawal from your 401k or whatever, and the money runs out. And you say, oh, well, I can just go back in there and get it. Well, if you keep doing that, as I said earlier, you're going to totally run out of money. Money's not going to last long. It's not going to last long at all. So if you're ready to stop worrying, send me a direct message. Make a comment here, and most of all, subscribe here to my YouTube channel. And you can leave me comments there on the post, and we can connect. And there are going to be links in the post title so that you can connect with me. But the harsh reality of waiting too long to plan for your retirement is definitely, by all means, a harsh reality. I'm Rita Oliver, CEO and President of Strategies, Options, and Solutions. Have a great day.